Hey everyone, Chris here again. Wanted to make another video, this time about the Apple Watch Ultra 2. So a few weeks ago I posted a video about my Garmin Epix Gen 2. This isn't the newest version from Garmin. This is the one that came out a couple years ago. I love this watch. I've lived with it for 2 years. I've had a watch kind of like it for the last 10 years or so. So I'm a big fan of the Garmin series of watches. Their whole lineup fits my lifestyle, but especially the Phoenix series, and now most recently the Epix series, which I think bridges the gap between some of the other smartwatches on the market and a true sports watch. Right after I made the video about the Garmin Epix Gen 2, Apple announced their new Apple Watch Ultra 2. So I figured, why not? I'll order it in, I'll give it a shot, I'll give it the old college try and see if I like it. I've had Apple Watches in the past and they didn't make it past a day or two. So I thought, you know what, I'll order this guy in, I'll give it a shot. So here's my honest thoughts on it. We're a week and a half out and look which watch is back on my wrist. So spoiler alert, but the Garmin is still the go-to for me. So just want to outline quickly what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, and why I've gone back to Garmin. Right off the bat, I don't think there are many differences between the Apple Watch Ultra 1 and 2. This one got a new chip. I think they call it their SIP or SIP chip. No idea what that means. Maybe in the future it'll bring more capability. But for right now, it's pretty much the same exact watch. The exterior styling is the exact same. I think they have some new options on the bands that it comes with. But from all other outward appearances, it is the exact same watch. So the things I like, the screen is gorgeous. I've got it set to sort of a grayscale motif here, but all the colors are beautiful, it's bright. I think it's one of the brightest screens out there, especially for a smartwatch. At night it has the capability to dim pre-low to a nice red shift. My Garmin does the exact same thing. But yeah, the screen is gorgeous. One of the features I really loved about the Apple Watch was the ability to take calls without getting my phone out of my pocket. So I was actually doing some work at one of my buildings and I was working with a hose, my hands were soaked, and I had a call come in that I needed to take, so I was able to do that without, fishing my wet hands into my pants and messing up my phone. So that was actually a pretty nice feature. I could see myself using that quite often. So that's pretty much my list of things I did like. I liked the screen, I liked being able to take calls hands-free. The things I didn't like though are quite a bit lengthier. Number one is the battery life. Compared to what I'm used to, it was atrocious. Apple claims, I think 36 hours, and I was probably getting somewhere in that range, but it was so short that I just wasn't able to remember to charge it on time enough, and I was constantly running out of battery. And on top of that, I was constantly worried about where the battery level was. Obviously not worried enough to actually charge the thing, but it was always in the back of my mind. So battery life was a main con. It was a deal breaker for me. The other thing I really hated about this was the nylon strap. So I went with Apple's recommendation. They recommended the nylon strap as the best choice for runners. That's my primary method of exercising right now. So I chose I believe it's called the Trail Loop strap. It's pretty nice in terms of the Velcro and how it adjusts. It's quick, but when you're sweaty, it gets wet. When you shower, it gets wet, and it stays wet for a while. So I would say of the 16 or 17 hours a day that I'm awake, this thing was wet, I don't know, 10 or 12 of them. It was extremely annoying to me. I'm constantly moving around on my wrist trying to find a dry spot. I didn't like it. It was like that wet spot on the bed that nobody likes to roll in. That was this one. I also had trouble getting the Messages app to sync with my phone. I couldn't get it to send text messages reliably. Honestly, it's probably user error. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that can get it to work. I just couldn't, and I consider myself fairly tech savvy. And it was something that I didn't want to keep fussing with. It was annoying enough that I said, heck with it. I'm just going to forego this feature and move on with my life. Another thing I didn't like was the interface to find a particular app. So with the Garmin, I'm used to just being able to tap down a couple buttons and it goes straight into my widgets, or my glances as they call it. Also, I'm one tap away from a workout and I just choose which workout I want. With the Apple Watch, I have to fuss with the digital crown and scroll through a gazillion apps trying to find the one tiny little icon I'm looking for. You can organize them alphabetically, but then again, I find myself scrolling endlessly to find my workout app. I know you can rearrange these things, probably to some of the more frequently used items being on top, but again, I just didn't want to take the time to fuss with it, and it just became so cumbersome for me in just a few days that I was pretty sick of it. Within the workout app itself, I wasn't the biggest fan of the data screens and how it presented the information. On my Garmin, I'm able to customize what's at the top, what's the most visible. With the Apple Watch, I was limited to a few pre-built data screens. I was still able to get my heart rate zone displayed. It just wasn't as clear to me. So when I'm on a run, when I'm pushing hard, or when I'm otherwise distracted, I don't want to have to stare at the watch to look at the information I need. I want to be able to do a quick glance, see the data, and move on, right? It shouldn't take an inordinate amount of focus to try to get that information. It should be more of a passive gesture. So with the Apple Watch, I felt like I was working just a bit too hard. The health app within Apple, I didn't find quite as easy to use as the Garmin's method of displaying all of my body metrics in terms of where my heart rate variability is, my overall fitness, how many steps I took. I found it to be sort of annoying to go into another app and have to deep dive the information. It just wasn't presented in a manner that was as easily digestible. I admit that I'm coming with a great deal of Garmin bias, but Apple as a technology company and as a software developer, I think should be able to present the information to me in a much easier manner, a much more digestible manner, so that I can make, educated decisions about what to do with workouts or sleep or whatever it might be for the day without having to think through it too much. And lastly, I just wasn't confident in the mapping features with the Apple Watch. If I was on a hike somewhere in the mountains and I was lost, I'd be sweating bullets hoping that I downloaded the right map to save for some sort of offline mode, because without cell reception, I'm not going to be able to pull anything up. Whereas with the Garmin, those topo maps live on my watch. They're accessible anywhere, regardless of service, and I'm confident that I can find my way out of just about any situation with that help. I've even gone so far as to mark crab pot placement in the middle of a giant bay here out in the Pacific Northwest, and have been able to find it using just my watch. And we're talking, that's literally a needle in a haystack trying to find a floating buoy out in the middle of miles and miles of water. So I'm confident with the Garmin. Not nearly as confident with the Apple Watch in a real outdoor situation. Now, if you live in the city, if you're an urban explorer, this is probably a great tool. Look, I like Apple products in general. I have an iPhone, I use an iPad, I do 99% of my professional work on a MacBook Pro. In fact, I'll edit this video on my MacBook. I just didn't love the Apple Watch Ultra 2 for my lifestyle. It's a great product, it's well priced at $799 compared to these Garmin Epix at close to $1,000 or even over that for some of the sizes. So I feel like it's well placed within the category. And if you're looking for more of a smartwatch than an actual sports watch, it's definitely the way to go, especially if you want that rugged, durable look compared to the standard Apple Watch. I think it's the Ultra 9 that they have now. If you're looking for a true fitness watch, a true health and activity tracker, a durable piece of equipment that will get you through any fitness event, I think you really have to take a solid look at the Garmin and its lineup. But Apple Watch definitely has its place, just not for me. I hope that helps anybody who might be on the fence if they're looking at a decision between the Apple Watch Ultra 2 and a Garmin Epix Pro. I would go the Garmin route every single day, but that decision is up to you and how you're going to be using the product, what your use cases are, what your preferences are. These are just my thoughts. They're a rambling collection of thoughts at that. They're not even coherent half the time. So take it for what it's worth. But definitely try it out. Sometimes it's nice if you can buy it at a place like Costco that has a generous return policy. You can try it out for an extended period of time and see if it really fits your life. For me, this came straight from the Apple Store, so I only had about 10 days with it before I had to submit this return. So I'm going to do that today, package it up, and send it back to Cupertino. Alrighty, take care. Have a great day.